Unfiltered podcast
with our new special guest,
Melody.
She's new and she's special.
She needs a nap, just like us. My name's Katie.
And I'm Cecily, and today we are talking about just finding friends when you relocated, just new transitions of life. Honestly, too, whether you're in the same town and I had to change from undergrad to graduate school, and that's a little bit different.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
And, furry friends, like Melody.
She's also a new friend. She likes to eat hair and eat fingers, but she's a special one. So we'll see how long she stays here. Probably not long.
She'll probably going to take a nap real soon.
Okay, she's going to take a
Okay,
nap.
she's going now.
She's
gone.
Good night.
So cute.
So in transitions, first, why don't you explain all the transitions that you've made, all the places that you've been? 'Cause you've been a lot of places.
Yeah, kind of. But you still have you. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're talking.
That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah. Okay, so high school to also I'm just gonna throw this out there. You within high school or within the things you do, you have different pockets of things you do. So you go to church, and we went to church with people who weren't at our high school. So that even if you think about things like that, just how you make friends within those. But after high school, I went to Butler Community College for 2 years. Actually went to Rhode Island for a summer. In between those, in between those 2 years. So I was in Rhode Island. I went to K-State after Butler. Went to Clemson, South Carolina after K-State. And then, I'm trying to think. And then I went back to K-State, but that's where I'm talking about. I went back as a professional and not as a student. So that was a transition differently in its own self. And then, I came to KU. I was just thinking, am I missing any? But I think that's it. And I came to KU.
Yeah. So my transitions, I had high school, which within high school, like you were talking about, church friends, we had our volleyball friends too, because I played AAU, so there were people from other schools or other towns that you became friends with that you weren't just friends. They were almost seasonal, as in terms of you were friends with them during season and not really outside of season because they were in the same town as you. And then from high school, I stayed in my hometown and went to a community college there, had friends there, transferred to Texas, had friends there for my undergrad. Then I became a grad student, so I had my grad friends. And then I became a professional, so I had my professional friends because I had to start separating student life versus professional life. Moved to KU, and I've always been a grad student here, so grad life. And then I had all these different jobs, so I have little pockets of friends in every one of my jobs.
That's so
which
true.
Is so, I don't want to say they're just work friends or just school friends. There's some that I hang out with outside of those contexts, but at the same time it's just you have all these little pockets of friends and all these groups of friends that aren't necessarily I guess they could be seasonal friends, but context friends as well.
Yeah, that's so true. I wasn't thinking about sports, creates those circles, and then what you said, jobs. Yeah. So even when I was at K-State, I waitressed, or just different I had waitressing friends. I had friends from there, and maybe even a group of them would go out and do something, and they would invite me along. But yeah, that's so.
I didn't think about that until I was just I might have this group of friends and that group of friends, and sometimes those friendship groups overlap, but usually they don't.
Yeah, it's so weird. No, they usually don't.
It's I wouldn't be hey, let's go out with my work friends and my school friends. There might be one or two that would overlap, but usually
invite the people that know each other. And yeah. That's so true. That's what I was thinking about that when you were talking. I was wow, that is so true. We actually have a lot of different pockets of friends.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I like that. And so with having so many different transitions or just pockets of friends, how do you feel like you've made friends within that? Or how do you feel like you make yourself a likable person when you just are? Some people are so closed off, is what I'm saying, and you're not. So
yeah, I was just gonna say, what's not to like? No, I'm kidding. I've learned this over time. There was a lot of people who, even from high school, have reached out to me after the fact and said something to the effect of well, I thought you were just quiet, or I thought you were stuck up, and it was just I wasn't either of those things. I wasn't necessarily quiet. I didn't really keep to myself in high school, but I didn't really put myself out there either.
Yeah.
Just because I felt I don't want to say like high school was a lot of drama, but I was not a fan of like the ups and downs of drama of high school. And so I was friends with everyone in high school. I don't feel like I was ever mean or rude to people. And then going into like the community college, I met people through my classes, and then through classes, I became friends with certain individuals. And I feel like that's how it was for my undergrad as well. And speaking of like seasonal friends, I remember in Texas, there was a girl one semester, and we had every single class together. And we realized it within like a week of like, hey, you're in all my classes. Like, we should just be friends because we're probably going to be doing a lot together. And so we became friends. And then like, whether it was just life things happening or whatever it was, we slowly grew apart after that semester. But even within that, I think a lot of it just has to do with, and I think I could nerd out on this and say like psychology has a lot to say about it. Being in the same area as somebody, and I call these situationships. Situationships. Like, you are put in the same situation, not necessarily by choice, but by random happenstance. Yeah. And because of that, you can bond over something that you both experience together. Right. So really, it's just like being in the same situation together and then forming a relationship from that. If that like situation continues, you might create that friendship still. But if that situation goes away, will you still have that friendship? So really, it's just picking the people who you think are worth making more of a situationship into like a relationship or friendship, as opposed to just like, there's some people that are just good seasonal friends. Yeah. So if you were going to transition like earlier in life, did you know that you wanted to make friends, or did you know that friends were important, community was important, or was that just your personality? In the sense of like, sometimes I went out and was very intentional because I knew I needed a friend in this season. Like, or hey, if I don't put in like effort to this, like I will be solo. Like, is that how you thought about it, or were you just being yourself and it happened naturally? Or I feel like it's happened both ways. So anytime that I've transitioned to a new place, I feel like it's always taken like at least a year to like make good friends, or like figure out where you fit in and like who your real group is. There's been times where friendships have just happened naturally. For example, like you. Like, I didn't seek you out, but at the same time, it was just like, oh, well, she does all the same things that I do. Like, we should just be friends. Yeah. And then even though some of those situations, for example, like young adults doesn't happen anymore, but we still do. So, like, that's an example of where we took our situationship and made it into a friendship. Where there's other people who, like, I have sought friends out, like, within my grad group. Like, we're together all the time, but do we hang out outside of that? And it's like, we're in this program together. Do I want to be your friend? And then there was a few that I'm like, I'm really close with you and really close with you. And really sought that out to make a friendship or just a group. But I wasn't always like that. Like in high school, you don't like have to try to make friends. I guess I didn't have to. I just had like this built-in friend group. Yeah. I don't know. How was it for you though? Because I feel like you're really good at like making friends anywhere you go.
I know growing up, my parents always were talking about, you're friends with everybody. Like, you're going to be nice to everybody. You're friends with everybody. They said it more in the sense of,
be kind to people.
Be kind to people, you know, like you're not just going to be you're not going to basically just be choosy about who you're friendly to. You're going to be friendly to everybody. Yeah. But I don't know what the switch was when I decided like I needed to be intentional about friendships. I think it was college, because going into community college, I had friends, but I was also I remember really seeking friends that were like me. I remember thinking I was very sheltered and naive at the time, and I just wanted to find people who thought the same way I did and didn't do the same things like that other people were doing. And I found that really hard. Like, literally, like, I really wasn't around a lot of cussing even growing up. And so it's just like going into this community where everybody was just saying stuff left and right. It was very, like, I was very sensitive to that.
Culture shock, yeah.
Yeah, it was just like,
like going from the north to the south, I was like, I don't understand what you're saying to me.
Yeah, exactly. So it was uncomfortable because, you know, that wasn't appropriate in my eyes or whatnot. And it wasn't that I was telling people to stop doing it. I just didn't really love that. Like, I was hearing all the time. But it's just funny because, I was just truly sheltered because it is everywhere. It's all around. We're always talking, but which I'm thankful for, like, for that. But I think I realized like, wow, I want to make friends that are like me. But then at some point too, I realized like, hey, any type of friends that want to hang out and you can care about and they care about you is better than having friends that are just exactly like you, right?
True.
And I just realized it was just a process of realizing, hey, like I still have good friends here at Butler. Like I still have good friends.
And you still have some of those friends too.
Right, yeah, and I love them to death. And, I think that we would do anything for each other. And so, but I just remember initially thinking, okay, I need someone just like me. This doesn't really work like that. And so, same thing with K-State transitioning. Actually, rewind. When I went to Rhode Island, I was thinking the same thing. I had a couple girls on the weightlifting team, and I was just like, hey, I'm going to be kind to them. And I wanted to ask them to do stuff outside and and everything. And then I transitioned to K-State. I had some high school friends there, but again, wanted to find people that were a little bit more like me, and I felt like it was a bigger pond to do that. But certain people made impacts in that too. Yeah. I remember a friend, she was very inviting over to her house, very hospitable. And I was like, she doesn't know me. When do I ever do this to people I don't really know?
You did that to me. You're like, hey, come eat at my house.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Right.
So that's actually from that friend that did that at K-State, because she was doing that to people that she didn't really know, and it meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
Like, it really meant a lot to me. And she was inviting me to her friend circle and everything. So I was like, you know what? I really want to be more hospitable.
Yeah.
And
more hospitable.
But yeah, it just became I guess it's just been a process. And then going to Clemson, I was just like, hey, I'm going to go make friends here. Like, if I'm not just going to go to work and then come back, I'm going to go make friends. Like, I'm going to be intentional about it. And so then you meet some really cool people because you're trying. Yeah. You're not just saying, hey, I'm not going to give you time. Like, no, I'm actually going to care about you and give you my time. And, let's see what comes from this. And yeah, it's actually really cool how you see who really loves that. And then some people they just still want to do their own thing.
Kind of standoffish to it.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So, and you know this because I always call it the levels of Katie, but really it's just the closeness of your circles. Yeah. So how do you decide who is in a bigger circle and who you let into your close circles?
That's probably a harder question for me because I don't do that quite as well, in the sense of I think over time you start to see who's really there. Mm-hmm. But some people you just feel hey, this person cares about me, and it's probably just by little things they do or little ways they showed that they cared about you, that you're just okay, this is not just a selfish, they're not just being selfish within this friendship, Yeah. And I think that's probably a little bit more how I've distinguished it, because there has been friends that it's not necessarily been a long friendship, but you just, hey, I think that they really are in this for my best interest, and they show that in some way, you've shown that in your ways, and but I don't know if I have a specific checklist of hey,
I don't know
this,
if I do either, and that's
but
why
you just
kind
of it's kind of it's kind of you feel it, if who really cares about me, right?
Yeah, I don't know, because that's what I was thinking too. My mom has always told me that I have a circle that's suffocatingly close, and once you get kicked out of the circle, you probably won't ever be let back in the circle. Not that you can't be in the outer circle, but you're probably never going to be close to me again. And again, I always attribute stuff to my grandma, and I don't even know if she's the one that said this or not, but I heard it and I loved it. And the only thing that should be tighter than your jeans is your circle. And I love that because it's so true. If you have such a big circle, I feel that's a lot to keep up with. Yeah. And that's taxing. Yeah. Just having a few close friendships is so taxing. And I think it comes with a level of maturity and growing up, because in high school friends are so different than actually learning to keep friends in college and adult life, because it's such a different, in high school you're together for close to 8 hours a day, and it's just easy because you're in that same situation, whereas work friends or even college, you might not have the same classes as them, you might not have the same schedule as them, so you literally have to put effort into seeing these people. Yeah, it's hard. And that's not easy for everyone, because if it's not built in, then how are you going to make time for that? Yeah. And so that's something that I find how that, and I'm a level of, there are some friends that need more attention than others, but I feel I have a lot of people who are around me that they don't care to have attention all the time. You and me, I haven't seen you for what? Since it was a couple weeks. Obviously since yesterday. But before that, it was a couple weeks. It's a week or two, and I hadn't even talked to you. I hadn't texted you, and once in a while it's hey, how are you? Are you alive? Even though people think we're together 25/8. No. Yeah. There are some days I don't see or talk to her, but
well, that's what's hard, I would say, about about that specific topic, actually, I was just talking to another friend this week, and she said, well, I feel like you have a lot of really good friends. It's probably hard to keep up with, like, everybody. And I was like, I think that is part of it. Is like,
but it's a two-way street.
It
also.
is it's 100% a two-way street. And sometimes I'm just like, I do really care about, all these friends that I would consider them good friends. And I know they would do anything for me, if I needed them, like, today.
Mm-hmm.
And, but then it's like, again, adult friendships, just understanding I might be going through stuff, I might be busy, but then also, like, I also want to be a good friend. It's so hard because, they might think, oh, well, maybe she's not being a good friend right now, but again, each friend, like, kind of takes a different amount of energy sometimes. Again, some people, like, want you to call them all the time, but some people just want a text, some people just want you to just see them. They don't really care if you even talk over the phone. So it's just, it's something just to navigate
even
as you
then, like,
start to learn people.
Seasons, because, like, you and I both know that, like, big transitions are coming. So, like, we're both about to graduate in the next year-ish, knock on wood. Cross your fingers, toes, eyes, whatever. And it's just like,
I tried to do that, but it didn't really work. It's so weird.
If you think about it, like, there are big transitions where, like, you and I might not be in the same town anymore. And that has happened. So, like, in that sense, like, are we, obviously we're not, I'm going to predict the future. We're not seasonal. Like, you're a lifelong friend. Right. But at the same time, you're not somebody that I will just see, like, once a year.
Right.
Like,
exactly. You're going to make sure that you see
I'm going to make sure that I see you consistently all the time. Because, like, friends back home, it's easy to see them once a year because we're all typically in the same town around, like, the holidays or even the summer. But, like, friends you meet in college, it's like you make this close-knit group and then they just, like, spread out over the country.
Right.
And it's like, how are you going to keep up with those relationships? Are they just a seasonal friend? And now that you're not in college or your job, per se, and they moved on to a different job, are they still going to be your friend? Are you still going to keep that relationship? Or are you now going to have to put effort into keeping that friendship alive?
And that's what's tough because, you've had this as well, maybe just a different degree. But, I would say, like, every place I've been, you find a good friend, like you do, and you find good friends, period. But it's so awesome, like, how God, like, gives you somebody and especially for that,
to
like,
get you
period
through a season.
Literally, but it doesn't mean that you're not friends with them afterwards, but it's like the person you can go over to their house, if you need to, and you can just hang out and, like, do just random stuff, like nothing special, like grocery store, just hanging out on the couch or whatever. But it's always been, just a hard adjustment, just like, hey, I am no longer getting to do this next side-by-side life thing with you. Like, now this is a different level, like, not level, like, season of this friendship. So
so there are seasonal friendships, and then there's
seasons
that,
like,
you go through within a friendship. I didn't think about that.
Because, like, I mean, I definitely have good friends that I'm like, oh yeah, I used to live down the street from them, and I could just go hang out with them too, and I can't do that anymore. And so and then Megan, like, I used to live with her, and that was so cool, but I don't get to do that anymore, and she's still such a good friend, and we make effort to see each other, and
we get to see her in a shout out.
Yeah, seriously. Well, it will be different with this when this podcast post. But what was I saying about that? Oh yeah, I loved how Katie talked about your wedding. Remember when you were talking about wedding and being with the bridesmaids and how everybody had a different season with that bride? Do you remember that?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna tell her story because this came from her. But she was just talking about how she was at a wedding and she...
Oh, yes! Okay. Now I get it. I'm like, what? Okay, so one of my best friends since childhood, shout out Devin D. I have known her since I was 2 years old, so itty bitty. We grew up on the same street, and I didn't know this at the beginning, but our moms met, and it turned out that she was moving. But her mom worked at the same school that I was going to, the same elementary school. So she moved, but she went to my school in kindergarten, and we were the best of friends. And then they were moving again. I don't remember the exact story, but she then moved to a different school, but I stayed her friend because another one of our friends went to my school that was also friends with her. So it was just like this little trio. And we were so close all throughout middle school, high school, etc. And then I was one of her bridesmaids. And it was just so interesting to like see the differences of all of us that were in her life, because I have memories of her and like experiences with her that they will never get to be a part of. Like they didn't see Devin and Katie throughout the really ugly stages of like elementary and middle school and sometimes even high school. You know, they didn't sit with her in her car and cry as she went to college and left me home. No, it's okay. I chose to stay home. And then like I got to hear their stories of like, I never knew Devin in college. I never knew like the crazy fun things that she would do. Or from like her in-laws standpoint, like I don't know Devin as like my brother's girlfriend, brother's fiance, brother's whatever, you know? So it was just so interesting to be in a room full of people who loved her so much and had such an impact in her life, but yet we all shared experiences of her that no one else will like get to be a part of. So in a sense, it's like, yeah, I wish I would have gotten to see that Devin, but also it's just like, there's such a piece of me that's like, I have something that you'll never have either. Yeah. So it's just a cool little place to be in terms of like seeing friends do big things, or like when they have big events, like when they have children or whatever, it's like, wow, there's so many people in your life, but like how cool that I was a part of like this aspect of it.
That's what I loved about that, because especially with girls, and I've heard about this with guys, some guy friends saying this too, but sometimes you're getting jealous of the friend that they have in that season. Yeah. And I love that story because my friends in different seasons mean no less to me than other friends. Mm-hmm. And it's just so cool to like to think of it in that way. It's like optimistic to be like, hey, like Cecily got your high school years. Like you get to talk about memories from that person's high school, you know, and or, you know, you get to see me in this light in Lawrence. So much different than like, you know, someone who got to see me at K-State. Mm-hmm. And it's so cool. It doesn't make you, you know, like again, it doesn't make you any less of a friend or better of a friend because you were in one season and then out of another season. And again, you're not my friend now. And, you know, oh goodness. It's just, I think sometimes the jealousy can come about. It's like, wow, she's another best friend.
That's so true.
And it's like, no, like, you know, Sarah, like, she's not like, oh, dang, you found another friend. Like, she's like, no, I'm so happy that you found somebody else. And that's, you know, what my friends would say too.
That actually is funny because, do you remember, well, this is almost
I do remember,
a year ago.
Actually.
It was me, you, and Megan. And like, that was the first time I ever met Megan. And we were doing some weird things together. Yeah. And my friend Emily had swiped up and was like, you know, I'm so happy that you found weirdos just like you. and I was so close to Emily, and shout out Em, I'm gonna see you in a week. I don't know, I'll see you soon. But it's just like, she was so happy that she knew that I was being taken care of in all my weirdness. And so it's just cool to have friends that are like thankful, because like for me, like even seeing some of my best friends with other friends, I'm like, how dare you do that? But at the same time, you know, like, don't replace me.
I think it's more of a because I've had those like kind of thoughts, but not super negative. Like I'll see my friends and they're posting all the cute pictures,
and I think it's like a jealousy of like, I want to be there too.
That's
not
what it is.
I'm upset that you have more friends. You know,
that's probably more of how I feel. Like, dang, I wish I could. Like, I love this cute little picture all put together. Like, I wish I could be there. I know that'd be fun because I know you are fun. Like, I know you're a good time. Exactly. Like, I want to sit in that room with you. Yeah. And so that's when I would say, like, maybe, I don't know. I don't really like the word jealousy because I just feel like I am not.
I would just
jealous
be
of
like,
the time.
I don't even want to say envious. Like, I just want to be there because I know how much fun
it's
you are.
It's a time. Yeah, I'm not there. Shucks. But
dang it. Yeah. Or like when you go do fun things, I'm like, I want to go.
Yeah, I know. So it's just just so, it was such a cool way to think, hey, like, you have a great season of memories with that person in that place, and you might not ever, you know, get to be right next to that person again. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like cherishing, but also just being thankful that, you know, again, like for me, just saying like, wow, I'm actually so thankful my friend, you know, transitioned to another place and found really good friends.
Taken care of.
Yeah, and
I
people
think that
love
comes
her.
from like a motherly standpoint from me, like a
and truly just caring about that person. Like, hey,
I want you to have friends.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever leave me, I hope you find friends.
Yeah.
Nah, you won't find friends. You'll never leave me. Yeah. Nah, I'm kidding. But yeah, I think that's just so cool and I think that says a lot about the people who surround you. And I think I've said this before too, like, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Like, my future looks great because I have some cool friends. Like, they do some big things. I think half of them are like doctors.
Wow, I didn't
And
make
then
the mark.
You're getting your
Make them
master's in
mark.
leadership.
Wow.
You're super cool.
Okay.
Or like nurses. I have a lot of nurse friends.
Yeah.
And then here I am. I'm like, I like the brain
Mm-hmm.
and behavior. No, I'm
That's so
kidding.
good though.
Yeah,
that's good though. I think, just our main point that we just want to take away is, we do have seasons. There's a season for everything, and
there's seasonal friends, and then there's seasons within like close friends.
Yeah. So you have, some seasons with a certain friend that might,
and be thankful for that
close.
season, because there's somebody else that I don't want to say jealous, but like there's somebody that didn't get to experience that season with that person, and how cool that you did.
Yeah. So it's not a reason to look down on like the other parts of it, but it's a reason to be like, I'm thankful for that. So,
and check your heart when you are like looking at your other friends. Like, why are you jealous? Like, if you are jealous of that person, or like have ill feelings towards your friends, like new friends, like why?
Yeah.
Because I think maybe that just means like maybe that friendship needs to be redeveloped or like rediscussed. Or like maybe you just need to go see that person and feel loved.
Yeah.
Not feel loved again, but
maybe you just don't feel like they care about you right now, but maybe that's why you do need to reach out and just,
be
reminded.
It's a two-way
reminded to that, hey, this person does still care about me.
And I think it just takes a lot of effort, especially in the adult life, because your friends are going to be all over the country. And what are you doing to make sure that you are a part of their life still?
Yeah.
I should be a flight attendant, because like I need to come see you all the time.
Okay, so I know that was
which is why I don't want to ever leave Kansas. It's because
Right.
literally Kansas is like the epicenter. Like, I'm in the center of all the places that I would ever want to be.
So this is the last thing that I want to say, because it was supposed to, I was going to talk about it a little bit earlier, but I didn't. But part of transitioning and just being intentional about finding friends, you might have to say, hey, I'm going to make sure I go to this group or this club.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I don't really want to go to this dinner tonight with these random coworkers that I just met, but like, that's where at least I had
effort.
Yeah, you have to put in the effort on your side if you're transitioning and trying to make new friends.
Yeah, you have to go through like the awkward, what's your favorite color and what do you like to do for fun?
Like where are you from? Like,
and
and then just being like, again, going back to the basics of like caring about somebody, like remembering, where they're from, remembering like who they're, what their story is, or something. Yeah, and just some of that is again intentional. So I remember when I went to Clemson, I was like, I want to find friends here. I had a really long day at work, but they asked me to go to the lake. I'm gonna go to the lake with them.
Yeah.
I don't really want to.
And then it's gonna turn into some really cool memories.
And then it was like it's really fun, but it was that initial like, hey, I'm uncomfortable, like I don't know anybody, but I'm just gonna go.
Yeah.
So I think that's another takeaway
it's
from today and transitioning.
Because if you don't do it, then like, what if they create a group and you're not a part of that group?
And I think some people, they see us as like friendly and outgoing and stuff, but that doesn't mean that we aren't uncomfortable like with a group of new people. We might still be uncomfortable because we feel a little awkward. You don't feel like the most comfortable, so you just have to push past that. But you can find good friends anywhere.
I like to start off on an awkward foot, so I mean that's always fun.
Yeah.
What's your name? Won't remember it 2 seconds later, but okay.
Oh, okay.
All right, so that's a wrap on seasons and friendships, and
go find friends. There's good friends everywhere. Yes.
And
cut. Oh.
Sandwich.